Hello, and thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new streaming Atmos release for Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Unfortunately, I haven't heard about any physical release yet, such as on Blu-ray, but Rust in Peace has been mixed into Atmos and is available on streaming services. The downside of streaming services is that the presentation is lossy, meaning it's compressed in a way that discards some information to keep the file sizes low. But the benefit is that it's a fairly low fixed cost month to month. I think Apple Music cost me around $10 a month, and I constantly listen to it in stereo and in spatial audio as well. And again, the downside is many of us would prefer a lossless presentation, such as on Blu-ray or even a lossless download. So the good news, Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Arguably the greatest thrash album of all time. I would say it at least gives Master of Puppets and Seasons in the Abyss a run for their money. Others would vote for, an Anthrax record or maybe a different Slayer record, maybe Injustice for All, but it's way up there. If I interpret some of the comments on Metallica's Some Kind of Monster correctly, it's the record that caused Metallica to go in more of like a hard rock, stadium rock trajectory and to kind of give up trying to be the kings of thrash. They listened to Rust in Peace and just felt like, this is the pinnacle. Why keep trying to contend with this? And, man, I have to agree. I mean, it's got the riffs, everything from the opening track, Holy Wars, to Lucretia, which are like textbook, like Guitar Magazine transcribed riffs. Sing-alongs worthy of, a Judas Priest record. Tornado of Souls comes to mind. Grooving, infectious bass lines, like on Five Magics and the Dawn Patrol. And, this masterful blend of social and political commentary and sci-fi and fantasy. Man, this is damn near a perfect record. If they didn't have some grammatical issues in some of the gang vocals, this would be just a perfect record. But certainly this is something, from my illicit youth that just really stands the test of time and is an absolute pinnacle musically and thematically. It's something that my young soul and my current being both rally around as something that expresses views that I hold, thoughts that I think, and feelings that I feel. And that's saying something, I think, for a thrash album. This is a product of the golden era of Bay Area, California thrash, which grew up in my backyard. You had Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer, and then on somewhat of a lower tier, just in terms of exposure, you have Exodus, Testament, and Death Angel. About Rust in Peace in streaming Atmos, you somewhat predictably have bass guitar and lead vocal rooted up front center. You have the meat and potatoes of the drums spread across the front, left and right. You have drum overheads and ambience spread throughout the room. You've got rhythm guitars, thankfully, panned predominantly to the surrounds. And you have lead guitars just sort of panning all around the room, just depending on what the song needed at the time. You have primarily ambience and gang vocals occupying the Atmos. Now, I've heard one person critique that they didn't hear enough unique, interesting musical material emanating from the Atmos, but for a rock album, let alone a metal album, let alone a thrash album, I really can't fathom what would have suited being panned discreetly up into the Atmos. Like I said, it already occupies some ambience and some gang vocals. And gang vocals are not an unimportant part of this record, so I really feel like that was a useful addition to the immersive presentation of this album. Now, being that this is streaming Atmos and it's compressed, it's somewhat lossy, my system just decided to shut off there, which is a useful feature, right? If I'm not using it, it should save power and it should reduce its heat output. But anyhow, where streaming Atmos has typically lacked, to my ears, is in lower bass definition and extension. Now, if you listen on standout tracks for bass presentation on this album, Five Magics and Dawn Patrol, bass guitar is clearly there and bass drum is clearly there. On some songs where there is more of dense orchestration, like on the opening track, Holy Wars, without turning the volume up significantly, I would be tempted to say that the bass is somewhat lacking, particularly when played at moderate volumes. But when I cranked this album to just get the drum kit really thundering, bass guitar and kick drum and lower tom-tom presence were all there. Now, I would love to see this released physically, and, physical formats like Blu-ray audio are not dead. Steven Wilson, Tear for Fears, just announced today that Tear for Fears' upcoming record is being released in Blu-ray Pure Audio with a Steven Wilson 5.1 and Atmos mix. Though my wallet will surely take a beating, I hope that Megadeth has in mind to release Rust in Peace as a deluxe box set and to include Blu-ray, and I would love it even more if he included, if he released the Blu-ray of Rust in Peace Atmos as a standalone disc. I would just like to get a physical copy of this Atmos mix one way or the other. And, if Metallica have done these deluxe boxes, I don't see why Megadeth wouldn't. Dave Mustaine has had a way through his career of sort of leapfrogging with Metallica on what they were doing. And so I think that a deluxe set for Rust in Peace would instantly sell out, and particularly if a multi-channel or immersive Blu-ray were included, I would definitely be among those helping it to sell out. This is an iconic album. This is arguably the greatest thrash album of all time. Definitely packs a lot of punch, and it contends with the very best. So I encourage you, if you are not yet streaming Atmos, you just must. There's a growing number of Atmos streaming only releases that are being augmented by like seriously top tier releases. So Megadeth Rust in Peace is the latest example. And if you go on to Apple Music, or if you prefer Tidal or wherever, and just check the releases, like, it's getting exciting. Okay, so like I said, I hope that this does see physical release, but for now it's only streaming, and I sure as heck am glad that my friend Eric alerted me to the existence of Rust in Peace streaming in Atmos. I mean, I canceled plans, I altered my life to make sure that I could sit and listen. And this is indeed a true, fresh remix of this album. Discrete elements all around you. And in my opinion, very well done. This mix serves the music. And not like this album needs much help drawing you in. I mean, it's already just absolutely engaging in its original incarnation. LP, cassette, CD, whatever. I mean, this material obviously is world class and stands the test of time, but in my opinion, on my system, especially cranked to a sufficient volume, this Atmos mix helps to draw you even further into this already legendary record. And I would also stress that, at least for Apple Music, when you are playing these songs back, you not only are treated to the lyrics of the album, which can help to clarify, some vocals that may not have been enunciated in a discernible fashion. And it's always fun for me to look at Megadeth, Metallica lyrics, and to gain insight on what was actually sung compared to what I thought might have been sung over the years. And then also, really helpfully, during the course of this record, for which lead guitar parts traded off between Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman are very important, integral, and crucial. You are given a play-by-play on who is doing the soloing. So I absolutely appreciate that. Just given the differences in their styles, I have found that I'm sometimes wrong on who's playing what. So that was absolutely fascinating for me, and is a very, very, very cool perk of listening to streaming Atmos in Apple Music. Alright, so I'll sign off for now. The key point here is that Rust in Peace by Megadeth now exists in a surround immersive format, and you can be drawn deeper into the magnificence, excellence, and just brutal just perfection of this pinnacle of the thrash genre that I love so much. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this review. Don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell, comments, all that stuff that helps this channel reach more viewers like you with the love of immersive and surround music. And until next time, my family and friends, live life in surround.